Today is Friday, the 19th day of May 2023. I am George Wenner and I am here on the southern shores of the St. John's Harbour, and in focus is BBC Ruby of BBC Chartering, and today makes 14 days. 2 weeks ago, BBC Ruby collided with a barge on entering the channel here in the St. John's Harbour, and 14 days has passed and BBC Ruby is still tied up alongside. Investigation is still ongoing. See, we have geese lines. They're docked up at the commercial port and they're offloading cargo. But BBC Ruby is taking up berthing space, and a huge sums of money charges are incurred. As BBC, as you can see, there are quite a few pleasure craft, power vessels, motor vessels aboard BBC Ruby for other destinations. They're still stuck in port for 14 days. So the dollars, the money continue to mount, and we're going, I'll venture to guess, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably millions in damages and lost revenue. Who is paying for the berthing space occupied by BBC Ruby over the last 14 days. Now we're hearing that the pilot of the St. John's Harbour was not on board. As you can see, the channel markers, they're there in focus, as the pilot was not on board when entering the harbour. And as we can see, there's dredging operations continuing at the entrance to the channel. Stay tuned, we'll continue further. So we're here, we're still at Side Hill. That's BBC Ruby tied up alongside at the commercial port alongside geese lines, freighter, and we're here at the entrance of the St. John's Harbour. And in focus here, there's dredging operations ongoing. There's a dredge, it's working on the edge of the channel, the southern side of the channel. So if you look, that buoy in focus right here marks the southern side of the channel, and they're working the southern side of the channel. And then you'll see that green buoy marking the northern side of the channel where this dredge is working. And as you can see, the piping, the spoils from what is dredge is pumped through that pipeline, and it is followed here on the pipelines, and it's pumped back to this station floating here and making its way to land or to the barge. And as you can see, coming down this way, there's the tug. That's the tug making its way down here. Now the question is, what happened on the 5th of March when the BBC Ruby entered the port? All reports are that the pilot for the St. John's Harbour was not on board. And if the pilot was not on board, it begs several questions. How is it that the captain of the BBC Ruby felt it comfortable to breach our laws to enter the port without the pilot being on board? Is it a customary thing for the pilot not to be on board? Was it the first time that the captain of the BBC Ruby would have breached our laws to enter the port without the pilot being on board? We have a pilot, which is mandatory. And why is it we're seeing a repeat of what happened in April down at the seaport, our seaport, where individuals breach our laws and enter our port of entry without proper authorization? The regulation is that the pilot ought to be on board to navigate the vessel safely into port. And in this instance, we're waiting the report of the BBC Ruby, the collision with the barge, what actually happened on that fateful day 14 days ago, on the 5th of May 2023. And so dredging operations continues perilously close to the edge of the channel, the southern edge of the channel, encroaching into the channel, This is proof that it continues, and yet there are no vessels coming in or out of the channel. They're all docked in port, in harbour, as we see in the foreground the BBC Ruby and the background geese lines, and we see this tug making its way to this barge operation that is ongoing. And this is the setup here, just off Side Hill, Pillar Rock. I am George Renner reporting to you from the St. John's Harbour for Rail News Antigua.